What if you're a boy pretending to be a man and you're not even fully aware of it? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If that question caught your attention, stick around to the end of this video so you can figure out the truth. If you're interested in more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and you can learn about ways to design a life of purpose. If you're new to this channel, my name is Teddy. I am passionate about self-discovery. I've been on the road traveling for 10 years now, and this journey has been one about self-discovery. On this channel, I try to make videos about how to improve, about how to discover yourself, and how to be the best version of yourself. In this video, we're going to talk about the incredible book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. This book is about masculinity. However, that does not mean it's only for men. Women could enjoy this book if they're interested in learning more about male psychology. Right from the get-go, the book claims that there's a crisis within masculinity. Why? Well, there are two reasons. The first reason is that we no longer practice rites of passage like we did back in the day. Rites of passage were important because they helped boys transition into men. They helped them assume responsibilities. They helped them to understand what it meant to be a man. And ultimately, it helped them to achieve a transformation of consciousness. Secondly, we have the issue of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is abusive and has infected many aspects of our lives. You might have heard the phrase toxic masculinity, which is used in conjunction with the patriarchy. Let's be specific here as to why the patriarchy is a bad thing. The patriarchy represents boy psychology. In this book, there are two major themes that are presented: boy psychology and man psychology. Boy psychology represents the boyish, childish, and immature version of masculinity, and man psychology represents the mature, nurturing side of masculinity. This in mind, the authors state that there is nothing wrong with true masculinity and that it is not abusive. They even go on to say that society mistakes controlling, threatening, and hostile behavior as strength. However, what it really is vulnerability and weakness. When I first read this book, I became fascinated by the author's argument that masculinity is not abusive. And I found that fascinating and reflected on why I found it fascinating, because I think a lot of my view of masculinity was tied to the way I was conditioned to view it and the way that it's spoken about in the media. So one of the major values that I pulled from this book was in just opening my mind and altering my perspective a bit about what masculinity means and how it applies to my own life as a man. So what does true masculinity look like? As the title suggests, there are four major forms of mature masculinity. They are the king, warrior, magician, and lover. These are the archetypes that represent mature masculinity, and it's important to note that men struggle to develop these fully. I'm going to share a bit about what each of the four archetypes represents, and I'm going to talk about their mature versions, the qualities that they embody, and I'm also going to talk about their shadow versions, which are the immature parts of the archetypes. First off, the king. If you fully embody the king in its mature version, you are wise, you maintain order, and you uplift others. The shadow version of the king would be that you abdicate responsibility and you try to dominate others. Next up, the warrior. In this fully mature version of this archetype, you are decisive, you're focused, and you're disciplined. The shadow version of this would be that you're self-destructive and you're cruel to others. Next, the magician. The fully mature version of this archetype is a problem solver and an insightful thinker. The shadow version, or the immature version of this archetype, would be someone that deceives others or withholds wisdom. Lastly, the lover. In this archetype, if you're mature, you are passionate, you embrace emotion, and you're all about beauty. In the shadow form of this archetype, you might become obsessive or emotionally detached. These four archetypes represent the basis of this book, and it's important to keep them in mind so that you get a clear grasp of what they represent, which is man psychology. In their immature or shadow versions, you have boy psychology. As I was reading through this book, I realized there was an important distinction, boy psychology and man psychology, to keep in mind, because it helped me to get a better grasp and to reflect on my own life if I fully developed into the mature versions of all of these archetypes. I would suggest reflecting on your own life, how you interact with others, how you operate your life, to determine if you're operating under boy psychology or man psychology. These four major archetypes represent man psychology, but within boy psychology, there are also archetypes, and they also have their own characteristics and qualities. I'm not going to get into all of them, but some qualities of boys pretending to be men, boys that haven't fully developed, are qualities like arrogance, manipulation, a sense of entitlement, aggressive, cynical, overly dependent, or avoiding independence. It's important to keep those in mind as you're reading this book, and you'll get a better understanding of the difference between boy psychology and man psychology. Thus far, we've talked about the major points of the book. First, that there is a crisis within masculinity, and it has to do with the fact that we have moved away from rites of passage and due to the negative impacts of the patriarchy. Then we talked about the 4 archetypes that represent man psychology and how that differs from boy psychology. The 4 major archetypes are the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. I also stated that within boy psychology, which are the immature and shadow versions of the mature versions of masculinity, there are their own archetypes and they represent negative qualities. As I continued to read this book, I began to wonder, well, what does the life of a man look like if they are fully developed and mature in all of the 4 major archetypes? There's no right or wrong answer here, but after doing some reflecting and finishing the rest of the book, I realized that a man who is fully developed in all of the major archetypes leads a life of balance, purpose, and fulfillment. So let's say as you're reading this book, you have some realizations about yourself, or let's say you know someone that is stuck in boy psychology and has not fully transitioned to man psychology. How does one transition from boy psychology to man psychology? How do they achieve that consciousness? 3 keys that are brought up in the book are self-awareness, discipline, and mentorship. Self-awareness is important, and that's the first step on the journey of self-discovery. You will see me talking about self-awareness in a lot of my videos, and it is one of the most important qualities in my own life that has helped me to grow to be the person that I am today. It will help me to continue to grow to the person that I want to be. Once you become aware of all aspects of your life, you can then use the tool of discipline to achieve what you want. It's the consistency that matters, and it's focusing on your goals and achieving what you want that will ultimately deliver the results that you expect. And lastly, the suggestion of mentorship is one that I really love because it highlights the importance of seeking help from others. And this underscores another point that I want to make, a little bonus gem that I'll leave with you, and that the key to being able to achieve any of these things, the key to achieve that higher sense of self and to transition from boy psychology to man psychology is humility. And in the case of mentorship and in the case of self-awareness, it's really understanding that you need help and then not being afraid to seek some of that help from other people. To give you a better idea of what it looks like to lead a life of balance, purpose, and fulfillment, let's take a closer look at what that looks like within the 4 archetypes. Envision an ideal leader. That represents the king. It's someone who seeks order. It's someone who seeks fairness, nurtures the people around them, uplifts them, and provides stability and guidance. As a warrior, you would be disciplined, courageous, and you'll face any problem that comes your way head on, and you'll do so with a sense of duty. You take responsibility. As a magician, you will be a seeker of truth, a seeker of knowledge, and you'll use that knowledge to navigate life. In addition to that, you'll teach others, and you'll be a problem solver at heart. And lastly, the lover. You experience life with passion and presence. You form deep connections with those around you. You appreciate beauty and see it in everything around you. And you balance your emotions with control. A complete man has transcended consciousness and it transitions from boy psychology to man psychology and integrates all 4 of these into his life in a very balanced way. And he does so that it enriches his life as a whole and the lives of those around him. I'll leave you with this final thought. The transition to manhood is about earning respect, not demanding it. It's about serving and not taking. And it's about leading and not following. Boys must embrace struggle, take responsibility, and cultivate wisdom if they want to fully embody mature masculinity. What are you doing in your own lives? If any of this interested you, or you're interested in self-discovery or achieving the highest version of yourself, I conveniently made another video about why you should try therapy. Hit the link right here so you can watch this video, and at the same time, hit the subscribe button so that you can get access to the rest of my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.